Good morning, you guys. I'm Jocelyn, host of the group, sister, daughter, dog mom, and owner of the Vagina Doc Physical Therapy and Wellness. And I wanted to come on this morning to deliver part two of overcoming persistent pelvic pain. This morning, I was reflecting on my live yesterday and how I was tough. I remember whenever I said I just want to shake some people. And that's kind of hard to hear on the receiving end, but I say it with pure love. This morning I had a coaching call with my business coach, and we talked about the time that he had to sit with me for like 35 minutes to a half hour, 35 minutes to an hour. Like, just basically, it was just tough love at that time. And that was when I was hanging by my fingertips of the business cliff. And it's so, oh my gosh, so cool to look back and see how much pain I was in and look at that pain as just in, incredible teachings and lessons. So understand that while I'm tough on you guys, it's because I know the power you have within you. If you didn't, you wouldn't be in this group. You would remove yourself from this group because I'm not for everyone. I am not for everyone. So let's really quickly summarize yesterday. So I talked about how a lot of people seek help and they haven't done the work inwards. They haven't looked in their past to basically reflect on why they do what their current behaviors are and where they come from, whether that's from a diet perspective, an activity perspective, a sexual health, a mental health. And so that is a barrier to progress. So interventions are essentially either quick fixes, or you get minimal relief or relief for a short period of time, or you can actually be flared and not get results at all, and that could turn you off from something, like what I do. And so I talked to you how you're basically the team captain because you know you best, and you have to identify what team members are there. So, is it someone in psychotherapy, whether that's a sex therapist, a trauma therapist? Is it someone in dietetics, someone in gynecology, massage therapy, physical therapy? There's a bunch of team members, and each will flow in and out at different periods of your life or time that you're on that healing journey. So now let's talk about what it is like treating pelvic pain once you've done that work. Well, I could tell you that I mentioned yesterday that initially when I first got into it, I felt like the people were taking tubes and sucking my energy out of me, and I just was broken at the end of the day. And now pelvic pain just totally energizes me when I have my boundaries, which I do now. My boundaries are that I am very clear about my expectations with the people that I work with, that they are not using me. I'm not feeding into any childlike behaviors that are subconscious that person doesn't even know of. We are adults, and I'm not the guru or fixer. I am the part of the team, and I empower you to make your decisions. But if you're not there, then I refer you to a colleague because that's fine. So once you are there, it is just unbelievable what kind of transformations that I've witnessed of people. So some of the things that we'll work on. Sometimes it's a lot of manual therapy. Like, there was an actual physical trauma 20 years back that was never dealt with. So sometimes that is me walking through first with those people how to just look at the area. So oftentimes people don't even want to look. Let's say your trauma was that you were sexually assaulted, and you're afraid to even look at your vulva and perineal area. And so what happens is the brain adapts. Men are lucky. They get to see their parts from such a young age. We don't. We have to actually take a mirror and look. And wants to do that? I mean, when we first are asked the question or challenged to look, take a mirror down there, you're like, what? My first saying, I've mentioned this in the past. I've told my physical therapist, like, you are nuts. You are absolutely nuts. But I did it. And at first, I went from very negative language to now I'm like, oh my God, I love my vulva. It's like gorgeous. So, yeah, let's say the first step is I have to assess, like, are you typically with persistent pelvic pain? I want the people that I'm working with, the person who's in front of me, to have control, because at the end of the day, they've lost some sort of control. And I feel that the best step is to give you that control back. So I walk you through step by step, and sometimes it's quicker than others. Sometimes as we just start looking at the part that you've for such a long period of time. I walk people through imagery. So looking at the area, because for so long you've blocked it out. So now your brain has adapted. Our brain is incredibly resilient and adaptable. Then when you're ready, sometimes that's the same session, sometimes not, we go into sensory exploration. So the quickest way to change what's in the brain is to expose yourself to different sensations. So light touch, so your fingers, just light touch is finding your anatomy, and as you go through it, you're saying positive affirmations. So for a long time, you might have been like, oh, I'm a hot mess, or this is gross, or this or that, but we replace that. And oftentimes you don't believe it at first, but that's okay. I'm not a huge person. Yeah, well, I'm go back and forth, but fake it till you make it. But this thing, I'd say, you right away you might not believe it, but after you continue this work and be consistent, you're going to start believing it if you're doing the other work as well. So we start with, I walk you through that process, exploring like cold temperatures, warm temperatures, and you're always reminding yourself, I'm safe, I'm in control. And then sometimes we go further away of that area and then slowly make our way to that area. And that's where we start. And you don't have, I think what the problem is in society, we're so like all or nothing. It's like if you're having issues with sex, it's like, oh, if I can't have sex, I don't want to do anything. Or it's like, I want to be able to stick a dilator before even being able to stick your pinky finger in exploring that area. So I really don't know what's happening with Facebook, but I apologize. So it's empowering for people to hear that, be affirmed that what they're feeling is there and I'm feeling it as well. And then, I mean, because I think being a patient, it was really helpful that I could feel the letting go and the transformation in being able to experience and teach my patients how to do that has been incredibly satisfying on both of our ends. So then, that's one process. Is the self-exploration of the pelvic floor. Other things are what we work through, like let's say it's exercise. Exercise is the problem. I think I have a unique niche in the pelvic health world where I started as movement being my first language. Like I thought I was really stupid for the majority of my life, and that my thing was physical, like movement, athletics. And so from that point, like I was always just I was a learner of all sorts of movements. So from high school, some traumas led me away from sports. And then I went to college and decided that I would buckle down and be a student. And I don't know how. I mean, I do know how I got here. Like, I almost dropped out of college, and then I was like, I'm not going to be an engineer. I need to be around people. I need to share my gifts. Switched to kinesiology with the goal to go to physical therapy school. And at the time, I didn't have the insight that about pelvic health and my position in pelvic health and what I can bring. But I ultimately led me there. But in the meantime, I learned how to teach and observe and be a wallflower and empower people in fitness as a group fitness instructor. And I learned my voice as a group fitness instructor. And it was super amazing and fun and horribly painful all at the same time, because I just wanted to be great at first, but it just doesn't work that way. But I learned just such a movement on a deeper level doing that. And then going into PT school, I was really ready to learn the clinical side. And so what I find that a lot of people with prolapse that just feel prolapse or chronic pelvic pain from overactivity or spasms, I'm like, bring it. Come to me. I want the most challenging cases, because what I find is I watch people move and I'm like, okay, who taught you this? What do you know? And almost every time I bring something new to the table that introduces that, and that new introduction to the system is not something that triggers their symptoms. So whenever I watch someone with persistent pelvic pain move, and I see like they're not even dissociating this or that, like their pelvis from their hips, and they're just feeding into the overactivity, that is a entrance point. Or when I see it's so fun. It's like going on a journey with someone and developing new movement patterns that they never even thought of, but they are so simple. Like, why didn't I think of that? It's super, super satisfying. So I told you about how I give people control over their bodies through self-exploration or self-exam before I do it. Sometimes it just depends, and I work manually with them, either internally sometimes or externally around the low back, neck, pelvis, hips, wherever they need. Scar anywhere, foot, could be around the pelvis, could be a C-section scar. I talk to you about how I help people create or identify new movement patterns that their system tolerates really well. Some other things that we do are, I told you yesterday the importance of the food, the mental health, all of that, because of like if it's secondary, I mean movement might aggravate your symptoms in that case. So there is a time when those things have to be put in place before we do all the movement stuff or the mobility, flexibility work. But then once that's taken care of, like, it is so freaking cool to witness what the movement practice, whether that's a yoga practice, a new yoga practice, a stretching routine, or a balance routine. It's so fun. Another thing that we can do is, what was I going to say? I talked about movement, talked about flexibility, mobility, talked about the self-pelvic floor. Oh, okay. So the other things are introducing your system to a new activity or a new sport. So a lot of people are so fixed in the past, like, oh, I ran this amount of time. I want to be able to run this amount of time. Well, the body craves new experiences and new change, even though we don't like to get uncomfortable. So my take is, okay, work with me and let's develop a new movement practice. You've been playing basketball all your life. Well, let's play a new sport. Let's play something that challenges your system differently. Let's do like tennis or something totally different. Or you were an athlete, a ball sport athlete. Can we get into dance? Basically, we have to, if your brain is so adapted to like pain, our central nervous system adapts and pain becomes a big part of the brain map. Well, we have to put new tasks because it takes a lot of cognitive effort. So if we introduce a new skill, that distracts the brain from the pain signaling, the pain messaging. So I think that is so fun when people are open to it. Like for me, I was a jock and an athlete, and the part of myself that was like Latin or kind of just shushed or hushed was my artistic and creative side. So as I got out of my pain problems, I was adding new skills and new knowledge, like, why can't I be a good singer? Or why can't I be a someone that knows how to play an instrument? Why can't I be someone that is logical or artsy, whatever, that appreciates paint instead of just watching sports, which, by the way, I never really watched sports. But that's what I mean by that. Like, what has been a dominant thing that you've been doing in your life, and how can we introduce something novel? We want to get you out of your dominant patterns to recreate and remap your brain. And oh my gosh, to see people's breakthroughs, to get them to realize that they could do things that they never thought possible, or they never even imagined, they never dreamed. It is just super cool. So basically, I help you awaken your inner child, your inner imagination. But if we don't do that first work that I talked to you about yesterday, it's not possible. There's a constant battle. It's like, I can't do this, I can't do that. So in order to protect myself from people sucking my soul out of me, I set boundaries and I say, look, I can really help you, but you have to put these things in place, and you have to take ownership of taking captain. And I will help you find your team members, and if you're not ready to take that big of a jump, I'll at least get you started and we can focus on certain parts, but you have to be open to the inner child, inner imagination, because when we're children, we're so adaptable. We can learn, we can heal, we can do all of the things really, really fast. But it's because we're introduced to so many new things, whereas as adults, we kind of like push that aside, new things aside, and we're really like, we don't even want to sit in a different seat when we go to somewhere, to church, to a classroom. Like, that is how fixed and rigid we become. So in summary, I give you your control back. I bring I help you bring and adapt to new movement patterns that your body just responds well to. We oftentimes have to find those, but it's super cool. And everyone's kind of different, but following the same principles. Find that right movement practice for you that gets you in a flow state, mentally, physically, doesn't aggravate your symptoms. Identify a new practice, whether that's, from a right brain movement standpoint, whether it's not a movement, so it could be singing, because we work with singing is totally connected to the pelvic floor and the diaphragm. Could be an instrument. The whole idea is tapping into the new, to something new, to recreate that inner child adaptability, and to distract the huge pain messaging in your brain, to slowly take away that and replace it with imagination, creativity. This isn't a quick fix. It's like my chronic pelvic pain patients, persistent pelvic pain. I hate the word chronic. It's a process, and sometimes, you know, I'm in and out of people's lives, and that's fine. But like my journey has been many years, but as it's been many years, I've taken massive leaps. It's not like I'm not participating in my life. It's just, like I said, we see Michael Jordan winning championships. We don't see him going through the hard times. We don't see him missing all the shots. We see him winning. Same thing with you. Like, there's a lot of steps forward, then big steps backwards. And I think one of the big things that people don't want is the step backward, but those steps backwards, those setbacks are necessary, because when you take a step forward, it's that bigger, not much bigger. Just had this conversation with one of my patients two sessions ago. He like took a big step backwards, and then the last session I had tears in my eyes. It was insane, like this massive step forward he took. It was crazy. I hope this gives you energy this morning. If you have pelvic pain, I hope it gives you hope, and I hope it gives you insight on steps that you need to take, and you need to be open to transforming your health. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. If you have a takeaway, comment your takeaway. If you're watching this on live, comment live. If you're on the replay, please comment replay. The more people that interact with this video, the more Facebook is going to say, hey, this is cool. We're going to show it in the group. Sorry about the on and off. I just did this yesterday. I don't get what's happening. So hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you another time. If you want notifications to when I come on, go on to the group and switch on the notifications that say, let me know when Jocelyn goes live or is posting. I do this typically on my business page, because I don't know why, but if you want to get the lives on my business page, follow my business page, Dr. Jocelyn Conley, and you can turn on notifications there so you get notified when I go live. And then I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.